What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. As y'all can see, I just posted a clip of the interview, or the discussion I had with my best friend talking about the hypersexuality of young black boys in the hood, right? And oftentimes I think was like people talk about the trauma that people can face for real, but I think sometimes the black boy trauma gets discarded, right? Um, a lot of black boys that I know have went through a lot of trauma, especially like sexual trauma. And oftentimes they glamorize it and don't realize that they were taken advantage of, that they were, assaulted, that they were forced into acts that should never have been forced upon them. And they think it's cool because we've been tricked in the hood to believe that hypersexuality amongst young black boys is okay, and amongst young black girls is sickening, is disgusting. Hypersexuality in any young child is not okay. I don't care what gender it is, right? Me growing up in the hoods of Chicago, I saw it often though. Some of my closest friends lost their virginity because their cousin made them get into a sexual act that they had going on with a girl. One of my closest friends lost his virginity when his uncles, his cousins, big cousins, had him climb on top of a girl when he was about 11 years old while they were running a train on a girl, right? The woman let the little boy get on top of her, and these grown older boys, I'm not gonna call them men, made him get on top of this young woman and thrust and hump. He was about 11 years old, right? I remember this is the type of stuff that people were subjected to. Some of my closest friends lost their virginity to girls that were like 7 years older than them, and they were like in their early teens, 14, the girl 19, girl 20, stuff like that. Those things occur regularly in the hood, and a lot of times these black boys they've been misguided by older male and female abusers, right? I know a lot of people like growing up like in the hood who lied about being virgins, who lied about not being virgins so they wouldn't be made fun of. I remember this just like yesterday. I'm 15 years old. I'm a sophomore in school, Morgan Park High School in Chicago. And at around this time, girls started taking a liking to me. And so because I was so reserved, I was so mellow, I was so mild-mannered, I wasn't abrasive and obnoxious like a lot of other young shorties in my age group in the school. Women would have conversations with me when they started liking me and start asking me, was I a virgin? And I told them the truth. Now, it was a lot of other boys that were virgins too that were scared to say it. It was a lot of boys who weren't virgins. But I was one of the boys who was a virgin who was not afraid to say it. And it was a big deal that I said that I was a virgin, right? To the point where I knew other dudes that was still lying, but still like, oh man, some people told me they would have lied, right? They told me they would have lied. And I wasn't cut like that, but that's the environment that we were in because you were seen as not man enough if you were not having sex. If you weren't having intercourse, you not really a man. Is you really on some man stuff? Are you really real with what you doing if you ain't having sex with these girls? And the older dudes in the hood put that trick into a lot of young boys' minds. Luckily, I had a strong black father who counteracted all of that shit, right? And my father was a womanizing man growing up, but he didn't want me to be having no sex at no young age like that, right? My mother counteracted that as well. But it was a lot of young black boys who didn't have fathers in the home, or maybe had fathers who were teaching that corrupt shit. Because there's a lot of fathers I knew that wanted their sons to be having sex at 13 years old. And what I told people, what they don't realize is that, like, I remember when Boosie got his son Tootie. He got Tootie fellatio from some stripper chick, and he was like 15. And what that does is, that's a grown woman pleasuring him. She know what she doing, she's experienced. He's going to be chasing that high amongst young girls his age. And next thing you know, he's making them real freaked out in ways that they should not be. He's making girls freaked out at ages that they should not be because he's trying to chase that high he had with that older woman, which could result in him, again, making another young black girl super hypersexual, or it could result in him possibly being exposed to STDs, possibly being a teenage father, right? So those things come with hypersexuality. Um, and we're gonna talk about the hypersexuality of young girls as well, man. Like I've seen that. Like I remember again when I'm in high school having a conversation. Listen, and I was watching porn and all of that, but I still was scared of possibly. I wasn't just bold enough to engage in the act just yet at 15. I remember I'm in high school, this girl talking, she got my number, she talking to me, we having conversation, we flirting. Next thing you know, she said, so you wanna fuck? And I remember I was so taken back. I didn't even know what to say. I'm yeah, if you want to, I guess we can play myself out of the whole situation because she knew I was nervous and scared. But that's for real. But look how she came and said it so boldly as if she had been doing that for a long time. Not, she said F. That's a word that grown folks use for real when they doing it. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it made me think about all them times. And I'm sure she probably was exposed to some stuff she wasn't supposed to be exposed to by either somebody older or somebody her age that had been exposed to some stuff that he shouldn't have been exposed to. But a cycle starts from there, right? And man, I'm gonna say this story too. I remember one time I went to my homie house, one of my homies, and it was a girl in the neighborhood who was hypersexual, and I believe she probably had been, assaulted at a young age or whatever, and it led her down a path of hypersexuality, and she was promiscuous, and she would be engaging in acts with dudes at multiple dudes at one time. His cousins and them was messing with the girl. She was she was doing sexual acts with them often, and they was trying to get some fellatio from her. Him, his cousin, and 2 other dudes. He gonna turn and ask me, you want some head, bro? I'm sitting here like, man, what the hell? Hell no. First of all, your cousin them dirty as hell for one. I mean, I'm just not a man that goes behind no other man in no sexual act. I'm not trying to have my joint out in a room with another man. I don't want to be sharing no woman. I ain't never been that type of dude. I don't want to be doing nothing sexual in a room with another man. That ain't never been my stilo. Right? So it was never gonna happen. But my homie casually asked me that, as if he asked, he said, you want some head? You want some head, G? As if he asked me, did we want to go to the corner store? Did we want to go play basketball? He said it like it was nothing with the blink of an eye. So that let me know that was something that he was used to doing, something that he was used to engage in, and it was not abnormal to him. You know what I mean? So, and I always say this, hypersexuality, man, it leads down a path of when a young boy becomes, his whole focus is on sex solely. My homie I had on camera, he talked about, felt like his whole purpose during that time period of his life was having sex with as many girls as possible. And because he was, in an environment where hypersexuality ruled everything, you was king if you was hypersexual. To the point he discussed with me about his own father, making fun of him for not sleeping with enough girls, for not being active enough when we 15 years old. So what do you think that's going to do to a young boy? He feels, young boys want to be want their father to, they want the admiration of their father. They want the respect of their father. They want the attention of their father. They want their father to admire them or look at them with a gleeful, happy look in their eye. So they're going to do what their father think they should be doing in order to gain that approval. Kids, young black boys want their father's approval. And so he went into being hypersexual even more. So, and he felt like that was his sole purpose. All he wanted to do, he didn't have an aspiration to have romantic type of things with women. He didn't want to romance them. He didn't want to take them all on these dates. He didn't want to go and be cool with them. He just wanted to have sex as quickly as possible. And went through that part of life where he talked about it was getting in the way of him being productive in certain other parts of his life, whether it be school, whether it be work, all of that getting knocked off track because that was his sole purpose in life, was just to have sex. And it becomes the sole purpose of a lot of young black boys, to where they cannot be productive in anything because all they thinking about is what new girl can they hit and smash. So yeah, I think a lot of young black boys go through these things and it's not really discussed for real. But again, a lot of my homies have lost their virginity in some of the craziest situations. My homie I had on camera was talking about having sex with a girl when he was 12 years old. My homie that y'all saw on camera, the one I just put up, I put a clip of the video up for y'all to see. When we were 14, 15, he was having sex that grown folks be having. With girls our age, having sex, or girls a couple of years older than us, having sex, grown folks sex. When you 20, 28, 29, 32, that type of sex. Effing. Doing some effing. And it's like, what the hell? Because he had been exposed to so much stuff. And he was chasing that high from having hypersexuality be a thing amongst the people in his friend group. You know, and so, yeah, and it's what's ironic is that I remember when he was telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, telling me some of this stuff, and the girl confirming it, I'm in disbelief, like, nah, bro, how the hell? I'm still to the point, all I'm doing is kissing girls. He is doing the stuff that they doing in the porn flicks with girls at 15, 16. Not 14, 15, I remember. 14, 15, he doing stuff in the porn videos. You know, and I'm like, what the hell? And to a point where, at that age, it wasn't protected. A lot of the times it wasn't that he was talking about he was doing some of this stuff. So, you know, I think that needs to be a discussion amongst young black men. Like, fathers, it's not okay to be trying to get your son to be sexually active at 14, 15 years old. Trying to force that on them. Trying to put them in situations to have sex and be with ultra freaked out girls. Because they're going to be chasing that high that they got from their freaked out experience with that grown woman. And they going to, in turn, make other young girls hypersexual. It's a movie called, and this is a different type of element, Mississippi Damned. I only could watch that movie once. It's about a young boy being assaulted by a man when he was young, right? Being assaulted by a man. And then he takes what he had experienced while he growing up and assaults other girls because of what he experienced. You know, he assaults his cousin. He assaults another young girl while he's a grown man and he's like out of the NBA or retired or injured from the NBA. And it's a never-ending cycle. Hypersexuality that happened to him from a forced act with a grown adult from being assaulted. And then he becomes the abuser. He becomes the person because it happened and he thinks that type of shit is all right and okay. Now, that's a whole different type of thing because what I'm saying is I didn't have anybody that I know that was just like, you know, that I knew that were like just really, really taking advantage. No males. I knew some girls that were, you know, assaulted in that way. But still, an older female, when she's 5, 6 years older than you and you're a young minor, that's still assault. Even if it's consensual on your end, you can't consent to something like that when you're a child because your brain is not developed enough to understand that you're being groomed and you're being taken advantage of. So yeah, man, like that type of black boy trauma in the hood is a real thing. And the older men sending us off, making us think we supposed to be doing that, like that's okay. And that's what makes you a man. Them same dudes was doing all that hypersexual shit, got 12, 15 kids, they don't take care of. They don't even see. They don't even remember the birthdays. They don't even remember the last time they seen them or gave them a phone call. Sending us off to lead down that same destructive path of fatherlessness and bullshit. You know, so just something to think about this morning. Machiavelli Mills TV. Peace.